Welcome to New Possibilities. I speak truth to power without fear. So I got finished listening to Tekashi 6ix9ine's interview on the Breakfast Club, and I want to share my thoughts about that interview. Now, some people may not know who this guy is. For those who don't know, he is a rapper in New York City. He's Mexican and Puerto Rican. I think one of his parents is Mexican, the other one is Puerto Rican. Um, he wears this rainbow hair and rainbow teeth and all that kind of stuff, and he pretends to be a member of this gang called the Bloods. You know, this guy has received a lot of attention, not only because he's been successful with the singles that he has released. You know, they have a lot of views on YouTube, hundreds of millions of views on YouTube. So he's very popular. Also, he has received a lot of attention on social media because of his trolling. He has trolled the hip hop community, for instance, by professing to be the king of New York. Also, he's trolled the community by challenging people to quote unquote test his gangster. You know, he professes to be a part of this Bloods gang and he glorifies gang life and all that kind of stuff. So he's received a lot of attention. So he appeared on the Breakfast Club and he talked about a wide range of different things dealing with his career. And basically, he's saying that he's the hottest MC out right now. He's saying that he's sold more than all these people and he's all this and that. And so what I'm going to do is walk through this interview step by step, like just highlight a few things that stood out to me. First of all, with respect to this thing about being the king of New York, I think that that is absolutely ridiculous for this guy to claim to be the king of New York. Now, I've listened to a couple of his songs. Like before, I would just see his image up and down my news feed from YouTube, like my subscription feed. You know, I would see his image and I'm like, who is this guy? Like, why is everybody talking about him? You know, I hadn't heard his music. Now, for those people who don't know, I'm a big hip hop fan. I love hip hop, but I don't really listen to these younger guys like that. You know, I'm more of the 90s, early 2000s generation. You know, that's the hip hop I like. You know, the Nas, the Jay-Z, Biggie, and Tupac and all that kind of stuff. And also I listen to, hip hop that's out now. And also I'm a big fan of like backpack hip hop, like a Mos Def or Talib Kweli and Common and stuff like that, Black Moon. So that gives you a sense of what kind of hip hop I like. So I'm really not into this young guys hip hop and this mumble rap, this crap that's put out here. Um, so I don't really follow him like that. But to claim to be the king of New York is ridiculous when you still have a Nas around, when you still have a Jay-Z around, when you still have Jada Kiss and the Lox and all these other great groups, when you have the Wu-Tang Clan still around. It is ridiculous for this guy to claim to be the king of New York. So, so that's the first thing that I have to get out of the way. The second thing that I have to deal with is the fact that this guy, as Charlemagne mentioned, Charlemagne mentioned this in the interview, that this guy basically sounds like Freddro Starr from Onyx. And, as they were saying that during the interview, I said, well, let me check out these songs that this guy, Tekashi 6ix9ine, is talking about, the songs that he says are big hits and all that kind of stuff. So I went and listened to those songs on YouTube. And this guy sounds like a knockoff of Freddro Starr. And for those of you who haven't heard Freddro Starr's raps before, all you have to do is Google Onyx or YouTube, go on YouTube and Google Onyx and Slam or Throw Your Guns Up, and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. This guy sounds exactly like Freddro Starr. And this is a prime example, another example of cultural appropriation, because here you have a Mexican guy basically stealing the style of an African American artist and then claiming to be the greatest. How can you be the greatest when you have basically plagiarized somebody else's style, misappropriated somebody else's style, in street language, bit somebody's whole style? You can't claim to be any kind of king when your whole style is a ripoff from somebody else. So that's one thing. Another thing is this guy, tries to celebrate this gang lifestyle, tries to talk about how he's such a gangster and he's with the Bloods and this and that. When there's pictures of him on social media wearing, the colors of the Crips, and then later on he's claiming to be Blood. So This guy is a joke. He is a gimmick. And, he's playing around. He's going to play around and lose his life because he's calling on people to test his gangster, to challenge him and stuff like that. And somebody in these streets is going to get at him, man. Somebody in these streets is going to touch him and take his life. I mean, we saw what happened to Tupac. We saw what happened with Tupac and Biggie and stuff like that. But with Tupac, it kind of reminds me of the situation of Tupac. First of all, he's not even nowhere near on the level of a Tupac. He's nowhere near on that level, so just to get that out the way. But it reminds me of Tupac. It's like Tupac created this thug persona, this thug caricature that he played out when he did his songs and when he was, walking around in the street and stuff like that to create this image that he's some thug and gangster. And in order to fulfill that image, he got into that altercation in Las Vegas. He got all these cases and all that stuff against him to fulfill this gangster persona. And by trying to carry out that persona and, constantly talking about death and all that kind of stuff, he became his own self-fulfilling prophecy. By trying to live out a life that he really wasn't about, he ended up getting gunned down. And the hip hop world was at a huge loss to see that brother go. And I think that this guy, Tekashi, is inviting people to kill him. And somebody's going to step up to that, and they're going to take his life. If he keeps going the way he's going, if he keeps going in that direction, that's what's going to happen. So, that's one thing that has to be talked about, just like this celebrating this gangster stuff. And I think that that's bad for the youth. Obviously, it's bad for the youth for somebody to be going around glorifying gang life, making it seem like that's so awesome to be in a gang and so fun to be running around throwing up colors and stuff like that. But these people that want to glorify this gang life, they're not showing you the bad part. They're not showing you the person that got shot and killed at a young age. They're not showing you the person that can no longer walk because they got shot in the back. They're not showing you the person that's locked up for the rest of their lives because they got caught up into that gang lifestyle. They don't show you that part. They don't show you how that whole lifestyle is destroying the black community and destroying black youth. With mass incarceration and early deaths, it's leading to the genocide in our community. And the thing that's ironic is that you got this Mexican guy, again, appropriating black culture. And then, on top of, appropriating black culture, this guy is basically carrying out a minstrel type of image of that black culture. It's like somebody putting on a minstrel show with the colorful hair and the rainbow teeth and all that kind of stuff. And then, they're trying to pretend to be gangster. You can't be gangster when you're all effeminate. And that's one thing about this generation of hip hop. It's effeminate. It's soft. It's not what, I grew up with. When I was growing up, hip hop was about the lyrics, man. It was about expressing yourself in a creative and clever kind of way, coming up with clever wordplay, painting a picture for the audience, much like how a Picasso or Basquiat paints masterpieces. That's what it was like. But now you just had these guys screaming over records, not really displaying any kind of lyricism. What you have is trash. And, how can you be gangster when you're weak and soft and effeminate, when you got rainbow hair? I mean, what's gangster about that? It's like, that's the new gangster. People are on this homo thug type thing, where you got people like Young Thug walking around in dresses. You have all these other mumble rappers, running around in dresses and stuff like that. They are a disgrace to the art form, man. They are destroying hip hop. Now, I want to talk about like his interaction with Charlemagne the God on this Breakfast Club. I mean, I think that Charlemagne, in a lot of ways, he's a bully. He's very disrespectful to a lot of his guests. That happens all the time. He always tries to knock people off their square and off balance, and he always tries to be disrespectful to the people that take time out of their day to go on his program. And he was disrespectful to this guy. And in part, I understand, why he was disrespectful. But I like how this guy, Tekashi 6ix9ine, flipped it on him. Because, this guy, Charlemagne, was trying to suggest that Tekashi was like a one-hit wonder or something like that he'll be gone next year and stuff. And Tekashi was basically laying out his resume, like how he dropped this song and that song, and they all became hits and stuff like that. And he talked about how basically he likes proving people like Charlemagne the God wrong, people that want to, say that they're not going to be successful and all that kind of stuff. So I like that. And then also during this interview, Charlemagne kept talking about how something's going to happen to Tekashi and that, people need to pray for Tekashi and this and that. And then Tekashi basically flipped it on him and said, well, people need to pray for you. And then he talked about how Charlemagne got hit by somebody or touched by somebody in the street and all that kind of stuff, and talked about how it's on video and stuff. I'm going to look for that video on YouTube. If I find it, I'll post a link to the video where somebody's hitting Charlemagne. And then he actually talked about how Charlemagne was running and stuff like that, running from the person that hit him. So that was kind of funny how he flipped that on him and stuff like that. And he really didn't let Charlemagne get under his skin. He talked over Charlemagne and stuff like that. Basically just tried to run over Charlemagne and stuff, man. But it's just a shame, man, that this young man, obviously he has some kind of talent, and I'm sure that he's probably going to have some more hits and stuff like that, because this is what today's generation likes. I don't really listen to these young rappers like that. It's only a handful of new or, well, relatively new artists, younger artists that I check out, like obviously a Kendrick Lamar. He's one of my favorite MCs. And I mess with J. Cole every now and then. I like some of his stuff. But other than that, I don't really listen to these young guys like that. And of course I listen to Drake or Lil Wayne from time to time, but I don't listen to a lot of all these countless new artists that are out here doing this mumble rap or yelling and screaming type rap. And the thing is, like, what this guy Tekashi does, as I was listening to his songs, his music is primarily beat driven. That's what it is. Like, the beat and the production really drives the music. It's really not so much about him and his lyrics. It's about the rhythm of the music, the beat of the music. That's why a lot of people feel the music. He does have some songs that make you rock, like the beat is catchy and all that kind of stuff. So I can see why, he's doing well. But those are my thoughts about that interview, man. I just think that hip hop right now is in a sorry state compared to where it was. Compared to where it was, man. You see the image up here. My generation is at the top. The Nas, the Jay-Z, the Biggie, and other people, Tupac. I mean, today's generation can't even compare to them at all. So tell me what your thoughts about that interview, if you checked it out. And what do you think about this whole thing about this guy appropriating black culture? And also, I want to deal with one thing, like the use of the N-word, because throughout the interview, he uses the N-word. And this is a Mexican guy. This is somebody who is Mexican. This is not a black person using the N-word. I mean, first of all, I don't think that black people should use the N-word. I don't think that we should be using the N-word. We need to get away from using that word because it is a word that was used by our oppressor to dehumanize us and to degrade us. So I don't think anybody should be using it. But I do recognize that there's a different way that black people use it from the way, other people use it. Other people use it in a derogatory way. And I don't think that because somebody is rapping, that somehow that gives them a license to use the N-word, especially if and of course, if they're not black. They don't have a license. And the fact that you have like all these black people surrounding this Mexican guy in these videos, basically serving as his entourage as he's using the N-word and as he's disrespecting black women. Black women are in the videos, as props, as sexual objects. And he's using the N-word, referring to people as the N-word, and you got these black people around him supporting and celebrating this. I think that's a disgrace, man. I think it's a disgrace that you have, you know, this Mexican person using the N-word, and everybody's giving him a pass on that because he's from New York. But anyway, those are my thoughts about this. Tell me what y'all think. Please rate, comment, and subscribe. Peace.